So we're going to be starting off the unit with polynomials and kind of talking about what they actually are. Um, so this first section is anatomy of a polynomial. And a polynomial is just one term or many terms added together. So if you look at the example above, we have 3x to the fifth plus 2x minus 5 minus x squared plus 7x to the fourth plus 4x cubed. We would say that this polynomial has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 terms. So a term is a letter or numbers letters and or numbers multiplied. And there should not be any letters on the bottom of a fraction of a polynomial. So next, the degree of a term. So far we have these three main terms, or key terms. The degree of a term is determined by the exponents. So there's a couple rules to that. Add the exponents if there are two different letters in a single term. For example, if it said x squared and y to the third, you would add those to say 5 would be your degree of the term. It is 1 if you have a variable with no exponent showing. For example, just an x. It is 0 if you don't have a variable at all. So let's say I just had a 5. So my degree of the term is just 0. Polynomials have whole number exponents, so there's no negatives, no fractions, and decimals in the exponents. The next term we need is a coefficient of a term. That is the number in front of the variable. For example, if I had 5x, my coefficient is 5. If I had 7xy, my coefficient is just the 7. The coefficient is 1 if nothing shows. If I only have a y, then don't forget that there's an imaginary 1 here. The leading coefficient is the coefficient of the first term in standard form. And standard form is going to be big, because we have this example here. But this example is not in standard form. Standard form means it is in order. Biggest exponent to smallest exponent on the letter that is first alphabetically. So just kind of put that in order. So I'm going to look and see that these all only have an x, which means the letters don't really matter. So now I'm going to look at the exponents and see which one has the biggest one. This is a 5, none, a 2, a 4, and a 3. So the first one is obviously going to be the 5. So my standard form will start out with 3x to the fifth. Then I look for the one for the 4. There it is. It's going to be plus 7x to the fourth. Then the next one is a 3 plus 4x cubed. I have a 2 here minus x squared. I have this one here is just going to be a coefficient of 1 because nothing shows. So plus 2x. And the last one is a minus 5. So the degree of a polynomial is the degree of the highest term. So we're going to kind of classify these that are listed below. My first one is 3x to the fifth. Coefficient is a 3. My degree is the 5. And you would name this a quintic term because it's a 5 and that's the term we use. The next one, 7x to the fourth. Coefficient is a 7. Degree is a 4. This is called a quartic term. 4x cubed. Coefficient is a 4. Degree is a 3. So we call this a cubic term. And notice how I always say 4x cubed? That's because it's a cubic term. The next one, a negative x squared. There's that imaginary 1 in front. So my coefficient is actually a minus 1. Or a negative 1. The degree will be a 2. And we call this a quadratic term. The last one, the second to last one, 2x. The coefficient is a 2. My degree is that imaginary 1 on top, so it's a 1. This is linear. No exponent on the variable, you use 1. It is degree to the 1. And the last one, the coefficient is just a negative 5. There is no x, so there is no degree. And really, this is how it looks. It looks like there's like imaginary x to the 0, but anything to the 0 power is 1. So it's just going to be the negative 5 we're looking at. We call this just a constant. And it means that there is no variable. So now we're going to classify them by the number of terms. If there's only one term, we call that a monomial. Because that prefix of mono means just one. An example would be like negative 3, 7xyz, that's still just one term. Or even something like 1/2 m to the 7th. Those are all just one term things, so they're considered monomials. Two terms is considered a binomial. Think of 2 as a bicycle with 2 wheels. That's where binomial comes from. An example, x plus 7. Notice how there's one term and two terms. Another example would be 3x squared minus 2x. Those are both binomials. The next one is a trinomial, 3. An example would be like 3x squared minus 4x plus 7. Another example could be just like a plus b plus c. One example that is not a trinomial, that's right, not, would be like 2x plus 3x plus x. Because since they all have just the same variable, it's only x and the same exponent to it, you just add these to give you 2, 3, and 1 makes 6x. So this actually would not be a trinomial. And 4 would be a quadranomial. Or you can just say polynomial after 3. Because poly means many. And that can be something like 3x cubed plus 2x squared minus 4x plus 3. Alright, this last section is just telling you to classify and name each polynomial by the degree and the number of terms. So the first one says degree. The degree is from the biggest exponent in each one. So this degree would be a degree of 2. The number of terms, we have 1, 2, 3. So my number of terms is just 3. The name of 3, you would say the quadratic trinomial. And the leading coefficient is this number in front. We would say that's a 3. In this next one, it's not in standard form, so you would want to kind of move stuff around. The term that should be in front would be the one with the biggest exponent, which would be this term here. So the degree of that term is a 4. its leading coefficient is also a 4. There are a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 terms. So we would call this a quadratic polynomial because it's more than 4. Oh, sorry, because it's more than 3, so 4 or more. So quadratic polynomial with 5 terms. The next one, it has a degree of 0 because there it's like this. It has one term. It is a constant because it's just a number, monomial because it's just one term. And the leading coefficient is itself, which is a 3. The next one, the degree, is just this variable here, just the 1. There are 2 terms. We'd call this a linear, because the degree of 1, binomial, because there's 2 terms. The leading coefficient is a 2, and we're good. The next one is not in order again, so this one should actually go first because it's y cubed. So my degree is 3. The number of terms is 2. So I would call it a cubic binomial with the leading coefficient of a negative 22. Now I want you guys to kind of create your own. That is a cubic trinomial. Cubic means degree 3. Trinomial means 3 terms. So degree 3 and 3 terms.